So today's lesson is lesson number 77. We're going to be talking about the quadratic formula. This is another way to solve quadratic equations. It's the most direct way, I guess. You just plug all the numbers into a formula and you get your two answers, okay? There's not really many steps, as you saw. You just need to identify what A, B, and C are. So you need to have it equal to 0 so that you have a true A, B, and C. And then you just identify what those are, you plug them into this formula, and you solve it. Okay? That's all you have to do. Does everyone have the steps written down? Are we ready to start? Yes. Okay. So 1 and 2, look up here. Pencils are down. You're watching 1 and 2. Okay, number 1, I start, it's equal to 0, so I'm good to use this method. I'm going to look for A, B, and C. I know A is just 1, the number in front of the B squared term, right? B is going to be 5, and C is negative 24. Okay, do you guys agree? Good? Okay, now I'm going to write my formula. Sometimes it's easier to remember if it's to like a song. I learned it to the, like, Pop Goes the Weasel. Pop goes the weasel. So it's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay? So negative b plus or minus. Everybody with me. Negative b, everyone saying the formula with me, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Good. Okay. All right, back to focusing up here now. So that's the formula. Now I just plug in the numbers. Okay, wherever there's an A, I put A. Wherever there's a B, I put the B value. And where there's the C, I put C. Okay? So just plugging this in, I have x equals negative 5, right? That's my negative B, plus or minus the square root. B squared is just 25, right? Because B is 5, so B squared is 25. Minus 4AC. Okay, so minus 4 times A is just 1, and C is negative 24. Okay, and that's all going to be divided by 2A, which is just 2 times 1. Okay, does everyone see how I just plugged those values in? Plugging in A, B, and C, is that okay? Okay, so now I'm just going to solve. I'm going to start here with what's under my square root. That's where I'm going to simplify first, and specifically I'm looking at I'm going to multiply this out first. Okay, so negative 4 times 1 is just negative 4. Negative 4 times a negative 24 is going to be a positive 96. So this becomes x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 96 all over, and then 2 times 1 is just 2. Right? 96 I got by multiplying this part out right here.
24 times 4?
No, this is 25 negative 4 times negative 24. Well, because negative 4, this is all being multiplied together. But negative 4 times 1 is just negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 24 is positive 96. Marky, question. Stop. All right, so I have this expression now. Now I want to simplify what's in the square root. So I do 25 plus 96. 25 plus 96 is just going to give me 121. So this is x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 121, all divided by 2. Okay? Square root of 121, what's that? It's just 11. So I could write this as negative 5 plus or minus 11 divided by 2. Okay, so I just wrote the equals next to it instead of writing another line. Is that okay? What's going on? Okay. Now we're going to solve. So, still looking up here, this is what gives me my two solutions. First thing I add. So, What's negative 5 plus 11?
6.
Positive 6. What's 6 divided by 2?
3.
3. So my first answer here is 3. Okay? Then I want to do the minus. So what's negative 5 minus 11?
Positive 6.
Negative 5 minus 11.
Negative 16.
Negative 16 divided by 2?
Negative 8.
Negative 8.
What's a real life example we would do?
Okay, so these are the two solutions. First thing I'm going to do is identify what A, B, and C are. A is just 2, B is 5, and C is negative 18. Okay, then I'm going to be using the quadratic formula, which is, do we all remember? Or let's say it together. Ready? X equals negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Okay, good. So now I'm plugging in the A, B, and C values into this equation. So this becomes X equals negative, and then for B I plug in 5, so negative 5 plus or minus the square root. Again, B is just 5, so B squared
5 squared.
is 5 squared, which is 25. Minus 4 times A is 2, and C is negative 18. Okay? So then I'm going to divide all of this by 2A. A is just 2, so divided by 2 times 2. Okay, this should be doable for every single person in this class, okay? This is plugging in numbers. Not right now, no, you're just following along right now, but eventually you will be. So after this, it's just arithmetic, which also should be doable, but I think this is where we run into problems. So focus up here. I'm looking first here. I'm going to multiply these three numbers together, okay? Negative 4 times 2 is going to be negative 8, and then I have a negative 18. Okay, I know a negative times a negative is a positive, so I'm thinking what's 18 times 8? And I could do a side problem. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 1 is 8. So this is 144. Okay, so when I multiply these together, I get 144. Okay, I'm going to delete this now so I can write over it. Okay, so that was just my scratch work to multiply. So I got positive 144, so now I can rewrite this. This is x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 25 plus 144 all over 2 times 2 is 4. 4. Okay? And then inside the radical in here, I'm going to add these together now. What's 25 plus 144? 169?
169.
Okay, so
169.
x equals negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 169 divided by 4. Okay, and then the square root of 169 is just what?
13.
13. So this is x equals negative 5 plus or minus 13 over 4. Okay? And now I'm working on this. Now I do the same thing as the last one. So what's negative 5 plus 13? Negative 5 plus 13? 8. 8 divided by 4? 2. Okay, then what's, it is, yeah, I didn't do that this whole time. I blanked on that one. Okay, what is negative 5 minus 13? Negative 18. Yeah, negative 18 divided by 4, so I need to kind of simplify this. I can divide each of these by 2, right? So negative 9 over 2. Or I can rewrite it as negative 4.5. Okay, so those are my two solutions. And again, these should have been, whoa, sorry. I'm done here. My final answer should really be n equals. Because that's the variable that's in the problem, okay? Okay, for number 3, again, we're going to identify A, B, and C. So, oh, sorry about that. So, A for number 3 is going to be 1, B is 1, and C is negative 2. So I'm going to plug these into my the quadratic formula, which again, remember, is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Plugging a, b, and c into this equation, I get x equals negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 minus 4 times 1 times negative 2 all over 2 times 1. Okay, so here this is negative b, b was 1, okay, and then 1 squared will just give me 1, and then I'm going to multiply this first. So negative 4 times 1 is negative 4, and then that negative 4 times negative 2 will give me a positive 8. Okay, so I will rewrite this with the positive 8, so it's negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 1 plus 8 all over 2. Okay, 1 plus 8 is just 9. So this is negative 1 plus or minus the square root of 9 all over 2. And the square root of 9 is just 3, so this is negative 1 plus or minus 3 all over 2. And now I split it into two equations, so first I do negative 1 plus 3. That's going to give me a positive 2. 2 divided by 2 is just 1. So my first solution will be x equals 1. Second one, I look at what's negative 1 minus 3. So negative 1 minus 3 is negative 4. Negative 4 over 2 is negative 2. So my solution here will be negative 2. Okay, and that's number 3. And number 4, same thing. A here is going to be 1. B is going to be 2. Sorry, B is negative 4. And C is negative 21. Okay, and I set up my equation. So this is the quadratic formula. And, and here, oh, I didn't put A. Okay, this should be 2a, and really this should actually be the variable that's in the equation, so this should be a v. Oh, sorry, v. Okay. All right, plugging in for a, b, and c, I get, and again this should be, okay, sorry, this should be v equals, plugging in the numbers, 4 plus or minus negative 4 squared, which is 16, minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a, which is just 1. Okay, this is a positive 4 here because this is negative b, negative 4, right? So it's negative, negative 4. So negative, negative 4 gives me this positive 4 here. Okay? And then I plugged in the other numbers. Negative 4 squared gave me 16 here. And then I just do the arithmetic involved. So I want to multiply these three together. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 21, sorry, times negative 21 gives me positive 84. Okay, so I will rewrite my equation now with that. So I have v equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 plus 84 all over 2. Okay, and that's just v equals 4 plus or minus the square root of 100 over 2. Square root of 100 is just 10, so I'd write that as v equals 4 plus 10 over 2, plus or minus, 4 plus or minus 10 over 2. And then I have two equations, so I'm looking at, okay, what if I do 4 plus 10? Well, that gives me 14. 14 over 2 is just 7. So I have v equals 7 as a solution. Then if I do if I do 4 minus 10, then that gives me -6. -6 over 2 is going to be -3. So I have v equals -3 as my second solution. Okay. Okay, and then I'll go through one last example if anyone wants to see it. So here I identify A, B, and C again. And then I'm solving my quadratic formula, plugging in -1 for B, 2 for A, and -6 for C. Okay, and then a negative times a -1 means this is just x equals +1 plus or minus the square root. -1 squared is just 1. -4, here -4 times 2 gives me a -8. -8 times -6 gives me a +48. So this is 1 plus 48. Divided by 2 times 2 is 4. So I have x equals 1 plus or minus. 1 plus 48 here is just 49. So square root of 49 is 7. And I divide that by 4. That gives me my two answers. First one I take 1 plus 7 here. So that gives me 8, and then divided by 4 gives me 2. Then I take 1 minus 7, that's going to give me a -6 over 4, which I could simplify to -3/2 or -1.5. Okay, that's it for today's lesson. I guess I will show you if you want extra practice on this. These are some of the independent practice problems. Okay, so this would be a good place to pause and work these out, and then you can check your solutions. I'll show them now. Okay, so that's what you should get for those 8 problems. Okay, all right, that's it. Thanks. Have a great day and a great weekend.